Hey everyone, Axie from the Wingbits team here. This video is going to run through the basic steps to get a device, in this case a Raspberry Pi, set up on the Wingbits project. I'm going to be using Windows 10, but you can do this stuff on a Mac or even Linux. Although obviously some tools that I will use may be different based on your OS. You might also need to pause after certain steps so you can do them before the next one comes up. Feel free to do so. Also, check for any pinned comments under this video in case there are updates to any of this in the future. You might find something that needs to be called out. So anyways, the steps we're going to run through are as follows. We're going to image the Pi to make sure it's pre-configured for your network and for your user info, time zone, keyboard, everything else. We're going to create an account on the Wingbits site. We're going to register our antenna, also known as the device, on your Wingbits account. In this case, my account. We're going to install software needed to feed Wingbits ADSB data. And then we're going to finally check to make sure it's all working. A little bit of prep work is going to be needed. You're going to want to get your Raspberry Pi, your USB dongle for ADSB. You're going to want to get the antenna, hook all those up. Leave the Raspberry Pi off for now. Then you're going to want to make sure you got your SD card ready. We're going to be working with that. If it's in your old device, grab it out. The data will be wiped when we do this, but there's different tools you can use, such as Image USB, to make a backup of that USB card and throw that image onto your PC or Mac or whatever. So there's different tools out there. Pick the one that's appropriate for your OS. To show you on the screen real quick, this is one. Image USB allows me to choose which drive, in this case, my F and H, and then create image from USB drive. And then I can save it to some location on a local hard disk. This is super handy if you want to back up something. Once it's working, you want to make a backup, throw it out somewhere on a drive. That way, if there's ever a failure, you can literally just re-image the USB card with that file. So that's going to be all the prep work. You should have a SD card in hand. Figure out how to hook it up to your PC like you normally do to read it or to write from it. And we're going to go from there. All right. First step, Raspberry Pi imaging. I'm going to use a tool that is made available for Raspberry Pis called the Raspberry Pi Imager. I'm going to download it for Windows, which I've already done. And we'll walk through the steps of using it. But choose the appropriate one for the operating system you have. Super small, super handy. If you have some other kind of board like a Orange Pi, you may want to use Armbian or Diet Pi. Just make sure you choose something that's low disk usage. You can leverage the community on Discord to discuss what options are available, what imaging tools you would use on different OSs. So to set up the Raspberry Pi image that we're going to use for Wingbits, I'm going to choose an operating system. I already pre-chose it, but in your example, you're going to load up and it's going to look something like this. This will be the opening screen. You'll see a bunch of options here. You'll see additional OS options for all kinds of different stuff. In this case, we're not going to choose anything from this screen. We are actually going to go to Pi OS Other. And you'll notice there's some light options. We don't want the 32-bit. We want a 64-bit. In this case, I'm going to choose the Bookworm. There's also an older Bullseye. Depending on when you watch this video, there may be a newer Debian out. Just make sure you go for a 64-bit light OS. If you're more of an Ubuntu user, obviously go with that. They have server images, which are headless, so the GUI's not included. That will save you a bunch of disk space and make your install a little bit leaner. So now, I'm going to choose this Raspberry Pi OS Lite 64-bit based on Debian, Bookworm. You'll notice I've already cached it on my computer. If you haven't done this before, it's going to take a little bit of time to download. It'll just be about half a gig or so for the Lite OS. Next, you choose your storage. In this case, once it's plugged in, you should only have one unless you have multiple USB devices. You're going to want to make sure that you've got a card that can handle the disk space requirements for not only this, but anything else you may add. I would always suggest 32 gigs or larger based on current pricing on the market today. Look for something that's high endurance, something that can have a lot of read and writes. In this case, I'm just using an old 32 gig scratch drive I had sitting around. I had already imaged it with a Lite OS for some reason. I don't remember why. Doesn't matter. We're going to wipe it. Before you click write, choose the gear option here. This is going to allow us to pre-configure the OS with all the settings we want. When you load up that gear, it's going to show you these options. I've already got them pre-filled in for things that are common for me. They're going to be blank for you. Just follow along, set it to something that makes sense for you. First thing, your host name. You will want to set it. I'm calling this wb2.local. You may want to call yours Wingbits or some other name that's appropriate for you. You will want to enable SSH and use password authentication, unless you know how to use keys, and then obviously choose your own there. Under that, for the username and password, I'm going to go with a very simple Wingbits username and a Wingbits password. I don't want to make things more crazy than they need to be. In my case, I'm also using wireless LAN. I put in my SSID. If you are not going to be using Wi-Fi and you're going to hook it up via Ethernet directly, then don't worry about this section. Unless you want the device to have two interfaces open, I would suggest you don't, unless you know you need to. Once you put in your SSID, your network name, and your password for your network, you'll want to put in wireless LAN country, type in the 2-digit code, and then hit tab. Don't use the drop down. It's super slow for some reason to choose your country code if you are at the end of the alphabet. Under that, we're going to turn on locale settings. That's going to make sure that your time zone is appropriate for your installation. This is going to help us a lot in debugging things in the future, seeing the timestamps, making sure that times that you're reporting for data is appropriate. Keyboard layout, I chose US because I'm in the US. Beyond this, you can play sounds when it's done, up to you. Eject is pretty handy once it's done, so that way you don't have to right click down on the taskbar and eject the device. Telemetry is just usage data for this tool. They get it back. They know how many people are using it. Once you're happy with everything, click save. Now we're going to click write. It is going to remind you, we're going to erase all your data. Make sure you want to do this. Like I said before, if you want to back up your USB card, hold off on this, download something like Image USB, and make a backup of your SD card onto your hard drive before you do this. I'm going to click yes. This is going to do a bunch of stuff. If this kind of stuff pops up here, you can just hit cancel. You don't need to insert anything. It already knows. While this is happening, we're going to have a little bit of time. See, it's going to take a little while. So why don't we sign up for a Wingbits account? and then do the email verification. So I'm going to come over on my wingbits.com. I'm going to click sign up. I'm going to put in an address of axie@wingbits.com. I'm going to choose a password like, I don't know, something handy that I can remember. That seems strong. We'll go with that. I'm going to click sign up. Make sure you agree to all the terms. Read the terms. I got to advise you to do that. Click sign up. Now it's going to say down here, registration successful. Please check your email to verify your account. So I am going to go check my account. By the way, you can see down below that the Raspberry Pi is still imaging under my cursor. So we're going to go over here. We're going to check for emails. Oh, I've got an email. Wingbits, your verification link. We're going to verify it. Your registration has been confirmed. We're going to now log in with that. All right, I have put in my username and password that we just signed up with, and I'm going to sign in. Perfect. Raspberry Pi Imager is still doing stuff. We're going to check on it real quick. It is verifying. Just so you know, it does take twice as long to do these images. If you haven't done this kind of stuff before, first time it writes everything. Second time it runs through a pass just to verify. Don't cancel, verify, let it run through. It's not going to kill you, and it's going to make sure that your install is not going to be messed up from some kind of wacky imaging glitch. So now that we've done that, we need to set up an antenna. Let's register an antenna while we're still waiting on the imaging tool. Latitude or longitude. So here's a couple ways we can do this. Obviously, I'm in the Georgia area. I could zoom in here and try to find a place and click on the exact address, the exact building that I'm in. There's some other options here. Google Maps is one. You can put a pin down and it'll show you, for example, put a pin down right here. And there is your latitude and longitude down here at the bottom. I don't know where I put that pin. It's somewhere. We can also use a tool online, latlong.net. You can actually type in your address, such as 101 Main Street, blah, blah, Atlanta, Georgia. And it will give you a latitude and longitude and actually zoom into that location. Alternatively, you can zoom in yourself, just like we were going to do on the other thing. And you can find a spot. Say we lived right here. I don't know what this place is. Say we live there. Oop. So this is going to pop up when you have the drive in and the imaging is done. Don't worry about it. Just hit cancel. It's just simply because Windows can't understand what's on that drive. You do not want to format it. If you format it, it will wipe out what we just did for imaging that SD card. So just hit cancel. Sounds great. Cancel. Windows, stop trying to help, please. So anyway, this is a latitude and longitude. We're going to use this. You're obviously going to want to use your specific address and everything. But I'm going to copy and paste these off. That's our latitude. It should be close enough. And I'm going to delete this setup as soon as we're done. So here's the longitude. I don't know how great this tool is for European countries and anywhere else. I've only tried in the US. It was actually really good with my address. Who knows? If not, you can, like I said, always play with Google Maps, or you can use the built-in tool here to try to zoom in and find your location. Just get it as close as you can. So I'm going to register now that I put in the latitude, longitude. You could zoom in here and verify that it's in that spot, which looks like the same curve in the road. Looks like the same building. Whoop, whoop. There we go. Yeah, that's the same kind of building we saw in the other one. Yep. So at this point, I'm just going to register. And I'm going to get a name, an ID. Also tells me what hex I'm located in. So if you haven't been here before, the first thing is going to be the ID of your device. Some people call it an antenna. It's a setup, whatever. Fast Brick Halibut is mine. This is the location, which we just put in. This hex is the Uber hex at resolution 3 that we reside in. A status message, which will tell us whether we're online or offline. And also, if you mouse over, it'll tell you when the last data was sent. In this case, no recent because we haven't hooked it up yet. You can also edit later. Like if you get the location wrong, you just want to update and make it more precise. Or if you want to delete it because you didn't mean to do this at all. Maybe you want to add a second antenna and you changed your mind. So in this case, our SD card is ready. I am going to pull it out. All right, what I've just done is put the SD card into the Raspberry Pi and turn on the power. I know you can't see it, but the dongle is lit up. I do have LEDs on the Pi, so it is getting power. And it's going to take a few minutes, but it will set itself up for all the configuration stuff we did. So there's two ways of getting to this device. Some people may advise use your router, which I started to think about doing for this video. You can go into DHCP, or if you're using Ethernet, you can just look for it on a network listing. But if it's on Wi-Fi, you can look for it as one of the devices. Sometimes it's a little difficult. Sometimes the routers show the name that we put in, such as WB2.local. But I have another way for you. Open up a command prompt. It's a simple Windows, type in command prompt, open as administrator, and then ping -4. So it uses IP4. Don't worry about it if you don't understand that. WB2.local. If you remember, that was the name of our device when we used the gear to pre-configure it. It is not ready yet. Still running. We're going to wait. All right. The machine should be up now. We're going to ping it again. Ping -4. I did clear the screen. WB2.local. And there you go. It is now up and on the network. And we now have an IP address. Do we need the IP address? Yes and no. If you can get to it this way, from this point on, don't worry about the IP address. Just start using the name of the machine, like WB2.local. Unless you're trying to do something else with the network and punch a hole through so you can reach it from the outside world. Internally, you can just keep referring to it as WB2.local, or in your case, you may have had Wingbits.local. So the next thing we need to do is connect to the device so we can run a command on there. So I'm going to SSH. I can do this from the command prompt. Windows 10 includes this after, I don't remember, sometime in 2021, 22, something like that. You can -L, which is going to be what username we want to use, what login name. And if you remember, we called it Wingbits was our username. And then we're going to tell it the host name of the machine, which again, WB2.local. Let's not use IP addresses if we don't need to. Instead, we could have used 192.168.0.185, but why? You will get this on the first time you connect to a machine. It wants to make sure that you're connecting to the right machine. And in this case, we set it up. We know it's the right machine. So I'm going to type yes. Then you're going to put in the password. If you remember, I went really simple. I used Wingbits as the password also. You won't see it typing. That's fine. Once you type it out, hit enter. Now we're on our Wingbits machine. So coincidentally, on this antennas page we can run this command. Instead of having to control copy or anything like that, you can just click over here on the right-hand side and you'll note down below it says code copied. Then we're going to go back. If you're new to this kind of stuff, you could right click to paste or you can shift insert to paste. I'm going to right click on the mouse and I'm going to hit enter. Device ID. I would advise don't type this by hand. Come up here, hit Control C or right click and hit copy. Then right click here to paste it. You want to make sure your hyphens are all in there. Now it's going to do an original install. It's going to take a few minutes. It is going to give us some status updates as it goes. I'm going to advise you that at the time of this video, there is a slight bug with the installation script that may require me to run it again or to reboot after installation. Hopefully by the time you're doing this, we've resolved that issue. Same command will be updated so that it does not do it. But just keep in mind, if you're getting an issue, we'll run through it, see if we end up with the problem. If we do, you'll see you're not alone. But if you're from the future and this has been solved, don't be surprised why you're doing so much better than I am. I'm going to let this run in the background and we'll come back as soon as it's done. All right, I probably should have fast forwarded through that. Hopefully I did. I don't remember how long it took, maybe about a minute. You'll notice it installed everything. It got to vector, checked to see if it's active. It was. Read SB, which is a tool that reads from the USB receiver. It's inactive, and it was trying to check. This is just a simple failure. Again, should be resolved later. What I am going to do is reboot. Oh, you know what? People have said, by the way, up arrow does work if you want to run a command again. I'm going to let it run the command again. I'm going to fast forward or skip ahead in the video. So I'll catch you as soon as it's done. All right, so we're going to reboot. Let the Pi restart. It's going to take about 15-30 seconds to shut down and start coming back up. So I'll be back with you in a few. All right, that should be long enough. So we're going to hit up arrow to SSH back in and put in our password. Remember, doesn't show it. We are going to check on the service. All right, so I ran a simple command. So it's a little advanced for some people probably, but it's simply telling me whether the read SB service is running. It looks like it is running and active. So I need to do one more thing that we forgot to do. There's a command we're going to run from. It is in the FAQ page on Discord, FAQ channel on Discord. It's going to set the location, restart, read SB. I need to do this. You cannot just cut and paste or copy and paste the location because there's a comma there. Actually, I guess we can. We could just remove the comma. Makes sense. Let me arrow over here. It wants spaces between the latitude and longitude, no comma there. So make sure you remove the comma, hit the button, and it sets the latitude and longitude. Now, let's see if our system is running. We're going to go to a browser. Not many planes out at this hour. Yes, it is 1:41 a.m. in case anybody noticed that in the bottom right of the screen. I want to put wb2.local/tar 1090. Hey, look at that. We're up and running with a local instance. So what does this tell me? This tells me that internally on my network, we are receiving plane data through the antenna, through the dongle, into the Pi, through the services, and out to this internal web server. That's pretty cool. But are we up on Wingbits? That is probably the real question. So I'm going to come back here to the antennas page, and I'm going to hit F5 to reload the page. And we are online. Last message was sent not too long ago. It's actually about 2 minutes ago, but I'm not sure what the time is on our device. Just out of curiosity. Okay. So I'm going to watch this, but the good news is if you see it online here, that means you're online. It means data is being sent to Wingbits. And I know that the output on here was pretty abysmal. Now it's really abysmal. So I think that's about it, guys. If you want to also see another tool that should have been installed, there's a local graphs page. This will take time to fill in. It's obviously only, the whole system's only been up for a couple minutes. But as time goes on, I can see that I've captured one whole aircraft at this hour. This is kind of normal. It's a weekend. Right now, it's a Sunday turning into a Monday. It's 1:43 in the morning. I normally only see about 3 to 4 aircraft at best at this hour. With the antenna being in my office, fair chance we're going to not see too much. So if you need any help, hit the Discord. The team's there to help. We also have a ticketing system, and the community has been super helpful with everybody else being onboarded over time. So ask your questions. We're here for you. If you have any suggestions about the video, let me know in the comments below, and we may do an updated one at some point. Hope you guys have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Peace out.